Hello, it's Carrie-Anne from the Science Booth and we're carrying on with our egg-citing theme. But before I show you today's activity, I just want to have a little think about solids, liquids and gases. And the easiest material or compound we can look at to explore this is water, because we can make water these three different states. If we put water in the freezer and lower its temperature, it becomes a solid. If we then start to increase the temperature past 0 degrees C, it becomes a liquid. And then if we carry on to increase the temperature even more, maybe in a kettle, it becomes a gas once it hits 100 degrees C, if it's pure water. So what I want to think about is why. Why does changing the temperature of this compound change the state of what it is from solid to liquid to gas? Okay, and it's all to do with atoms or particles, okay? So everything in the universe is made from atoms. You all probably know that water has a formula H2O. That means that every particle in water has got 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. And how these particles behave, or you can call them molecules, how they behave is when we change the temperature, we can give them or take away sort of the amount of energy they've got. So if something is a solid, it means that all the particles are really close together, touching. They can't move. All they can do is vibrate on the spot. Okay, they cannot move. And that's why it's a solid, because the particles aren't moving around. If we increase the temperature, we start to give those particles more energy. As we give them more energy, they can start to move around. And in a liquid, what they do is they're all still quite close together, but they slide over the top of each other. Okay, so they're kind of moving around, but they're still quite close together. If we then increase the temperature even more, we give them even more energy. And if we give them enough energy, they might be able to move so much that they escape the liquid they're in. And when they do that, they have so much energy, they start pinging around everywhere. And that's what we've got when we've got a gas. And those particles in the gas can fill the space they're in. That might be a room or it might be a small container. So thinking about the properties of solids, liquids and gases, solids have a fixed shape, because it doesn't change, a fixed volume. We can't squash it, so it's non-compressible unless we break it, okay? And it's there, it doesn't change unless we're melting it. Once we melt it and it turns into a liquid, we have something slightly different. A liquid still has a fixed volume, there's still the same amount of it, but it doesn't have a fixed shape. In fact, liquids take up the shape of the container they're in. We know that if you have a glass of water, it takes up the shape of the glass. It's also non-compressible. You cannot squash a liquid. If we put a liquid in a fixed space and we try to squash it, impossible, okay? It's the whole reason why hydraulic brakes work. We have liquid in them, we push the liquid and the liquid moves. We can't squash it. If we heat up the water to turn it into a gas, into steam, then its properties change again. It doesn't have a fixed shape because it spreads out, pinging all over the room. It doesn't have a fixed volume, okay, but we can squash it. Think about a balloon. That's a gas. It's not water vapour, it's all the gas that's come out of my lungs, but we can squash it, okay? So if we've got it in a container that we can manipulate, we can squash that gas, okay? We can apply pressure to it. Right, now, thinking about those properties, we're going to carry on with our egg-themed science, and we're going to make some of our own sort of, well, I'm making this at Easter time, but you might be watching this at a different time. So your eggs can sort of have any theme they want, okay? But I have a lot of these Easter chicks lying around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one of these Easter chicks into a balloon, fill it with water and make a frozen egg. So my top tip for this, which I didn't do with my other ones, is inflate the balloon for a good 30 seconds or so, because when you fill this with water, it's useful if it can stretch a little bit. Okay, you're going to need someone to help you with this next step. I can't do it on my own, but I can show you kind of how to do it. So what you need to do is you need to get somebody, probably a grown-up, to open the neck of the balloon, and then somebody else, well, or you, to drop the toy or small item into the balloon, okay? Once you've done that, don't get your fingers stuck. Once you've done that, fill it up with water, tie a knot in it, and then pop it in your freezer. Okay, I've frozen mine overnight and I'm left with something solid here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the camera down to show you the next step. So just bear with me whilst I do that. Oh, hello, here's my table. Just going to move you over. Brilliant. I'll bring my plate over to you, okay? I've already opened one of my balloons, okay? So you can see my little balloon there. I'm just going to get my scissors. So what I would say, safety-wise, get a grown-up to help you. Try not to handle the ice directly, because if you hold ice for a long time, it can cause ice burn, and that's not very good at all. So once these have been in the freezer overnight, and it's better to leave them overnight because then you know they're properly frozen, you can kind of release them. Now they're not perfectly egg-shaped. You can kind of experiment with different sized and shaped balloons. You might want to have a look at water balloons if you've got them. I'm just going to try and break into this one. And I would get your grown-up to help with this bit because it can be a little bit fiddly. And balloons can snap back. Oh, look at our little chick. That's hilarious. Our little chick's trapped in the egg. So what have we got there? We've got 2 frozen eggs. I've got a chick and I've got a little glittery egg in this one. Look at my chick. It's having a little boogie. And what you can do, well, there's lots of things you can do because ice is absolutely one of the most fascinating compounds ever. It's one of the only compounds where it's solid is less dense than its liquid, okay? And we can just test that out. We'll test it out with the chick. Hopefully the chick doesn't have too much of a negative impact on it, okay? So there we go. Ice is one of the few things that when it's a solid, it becomes less dense than its liquid and is able to float. Let's just take that out. So you can have a go at floating and sinking. And then what you can do, oh look at this poor little chick, his little feet. Then what you can do is you can have a go at trying to rescue the little toys that you've put in to your frozen eggs. There's a few different ways you can do that. I'm not going to spend my time doing that now because it will take me ages. But what you can do is you can use different temperatures of water to try and melt them out. So you could use hot water, warm water, cold water to see what happens. You could add some salt to see how that affects the melting of your water. You could use some tools to try and break them out. But essentially, you can just have a lot of fun trying to rescue whatever toys you've put in there. And you can have a little think about melting and how we're turning this solid back into a liquid. And you can try this with all different toys. If you want to make it a bit more interesting and look a little bit more interesting, you can add food colouring to your frozen eggs. You can then also turn it into a real investigation by trying different liquids. So we've used water today, but you could experiment with lemonade or milk or vegetable oil. You could then time how long it takes for each of those things to melt to see if those different things make a difference and if they melt quicker or if they melt slower. But the main thing to do with this one is have some fun, make as many eggs as you can because I think they look really cool. See if you can get better egg shapes than me. This little egg's got a bit of a tail on it here. And yeah, just have loads of fun with it. So I look forward to seeing your frozen excavations and seeing what different toys you hide in there and if you try different liquids as well. I look forward to seeing you guys next time and I hope you have loads of fun.